Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning. How we doing?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Best day of the week. It's a beautiful day. It's always a beautiful Monday. How's your guys' weekends?
It was good. I had a little bit of a dance day on Saturday. I'm learning how to tailor going out in my 30s versus my 20s. And it's going in the morning and dancing for a little bit rather than attempting to stay out late. So
one of those silent discos in Miami or what?
We went to space, so not silent, but it was like a morning workout, like went in the morning and then had a whole day to like relax. I was like, this is nice. And I also was like, you're getting old.
Yep. We couldn't be in two different places in life. We popped up to Atlanta to visit my parents for Thanksgiving early. And Elliot took his first steps this weekend. So,
oh my God, snap. That's so exciting.
We are now mobile again.
He's one step closer to dancing, like Brandy.
Yeah.
Taking him to space soon.
Yeah. Now you have to look out. He's going to be everywhere now. He's getting his bearings.
He was already there. He pulls everything out of every cabinet he can get into. So it's full chaos mode right now.
Love that.
I love that for him. Good job, Elliot. We're proud of you.
How about you,
Brandon? I'm going to be like you. Oh, well, I was going to say a great weekend. Chill. I got to MC the Mile High Hosts Good Neighbors Summit here in Denver, Colorado, put on by Dana Lubner, the Mile High Hosts advocacy group. So that was a lot of fun to connect with local operators. But I'm going to be like you, and I'm going to be dancing my ass off in Vegas all week next week, or this week. Yeah, Wednesday. I'm going in town for the F1 race. And the first night, it's Steve Aoki. The second night, it is Deadmau5. The third night, it is Calvin Harris. So we're hitting all the spots.
I've always wanted to see Calvin Harris.
Be good. It's going to be a good one. I'm pumped. Yeah. So I'll make sure to post all the stories on Instagram. And
you're
all that good
loose
stuff.
In Vegas. I'm excited to watch.
I know. I hate Vegas, but with the F1 race, I was like, all right, might as well just go all out. So I'm pumped. But so this episode, for all of our listeners who are trying to get through this banter, are like, okay, what's going on? We are bringing on a special guest named John Sutton, who is the founder of Journey. And they are creating and changing the game of loyalty in hotels and overall hospitality, not just hotels, short-term rentals as well. So trying to get the verticals to finally see more of a merge. So you guys ready to bring on our special guest for the week?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I hear you don't have guests often, so thanks for having me.
Best backgrounds that we've had. That's legit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very impressive, and we feel always a little rusty when we bring guests on because, like you said, it's very rare for us. So we're honored. We're honored to have you.
Thanks. Well, I'm glad to be here.
So a couple of weeks ago, we touched on loyalty, and there's a couple different companies taking a couple different angles. We love what we've learned thus far about Journey. We do talk on the show a bunch about the intersection of hotels and vacation rentals, and in many cases, the lack thereof, the intersection. But it does seem more and more as years go on, we get closer and closer. So how did you come up with this? I understand you may have been a former operator as well, so you feel the pains of all the property management companies out there. Just tell us the inspiration of Journey.
Yeah, well, I think the short version of it was I was a big investor. So I retired officially from what I would call as a tech company meets private equity company called Red Ventures. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I needed to diversify a little bit away from technology stocks and invest in private securities. And so I started investing in real estate in a small way, bought a couple of long-term rentals. And my friend who was operating for me was the one who suggested we turn them into short-term rentals. So, the CapEx, the design, and I always have loved design. I'm an investor in a furniture store right now and a couple of different elements in my life. And so I think we did a pretty good job. I'm learning from a lot of kind of the entrepreneurs that are now partnering with Journey that maybe I wasn't as good as we thought we were, but we built it up to about 17 short-term rentals, and I wasn't operating it full-time, but I was trying to think through how to scale it because, I don't know, my mind always goes to pretty big scale. At Red Ventures, we own brands like CNET.com, Healthline.com, Bankrate.com that we scaled to, hundreds of millions of users. And so that was kind of the category I came from. Was I'm a technologist at heart, not a real estate professional or a operator. And as I was looking at the numbers with him and the team, I really struggle with like the capital intensity of it all, and like how would we really get it to the hundreds or thousands of properties that would make it make sense to quote unquote be a brand in the short-term rental space. And, we were also struggling with like the economics around customer acquisition and just reacquisition of kind of the guest every time. That business was pretty reliant on the OTA, on the kind of the big OTAs. Obviously we did some direct marketing, digital marketing, but it wasn't quite the experiential stay that are like it was core urban market, Airbnbs basically. And so that was when I first kind of got a glimpse into where I saw some challenges for the category. And then I was a traveler myself, so I always loved loyalty points. I used to travel 300,000 miles a year. I ran our global operations. And so probably like a lot of folks, business travel was kind of the way that I would gather the points, and then I would burn them on kind of my personal experiences with my family. And bringing all these things together, I just said, like, it seems like loyalty is actually one of the biggest drivers for the big chains in terms of their lack of dependence on OTAs. So there's like a direct correlation between the size of a loyalty program and kind of the percent of bookings that come from OTAs. So that was kind of the data orientation that I took. And I literally was having coffee with Brian Kelly, who is the Points Guy or the founder of the Points Guy at Soho House in New York. And I said, like, I'm thinking about building this points program for short-term rentals. Like it's never existed. I think we could build a loyalty program that differentiates it. We could sign up the best ones. And he's like, that's a great idea. But if you're anything like me, he has, Michael, I know you said you have a small child. He has a 2-year-old. He's got another one on the way. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And he's like, I love staying at short-term rentals too, but not when I'm by myself. Like when I travel for business, I like to stay at nice hotels or boutique hotels. And he's like, and also sometimes I'll go on safari with the kids, and those are all independently operated. He's like, why wouldn't you bring it all together? Like where the consumer's going, the same ideal customer profile stays at a boutique hotel and stays at an Airbnb and goes on a luxury retreat on occasion. And so that was the idea, is like, what is the common thread that brings those things together? And it really is around like the authentic experience, kind of the independent operator, the connection to the local community. And it doesn't really matter, we call it like the shelter or the space, whether it's a hotel or a unique stay or a tree house or, a safari resort. Like we think if it's a great experience for everybody, then kind of we'll go from there.
Yeah. And you brought up something we've talked about before a good bit, which is, when most of us travel, we probably for business, we probably stay in hotels. But anytime I'm with my family, packing into a hotel room with 4 people, it's not how we're used to living nowadays. And so short-term rentals are much, much more practical, unless it's just a night or so. How do you see people earning points? Because, sans the business traveler like you who did 300,000 miles a year, the average business traveler probably does a fraction of that. How are people going to earn enough points to then burn them on these experiential stays?
So I think this is the part that makes Journey quite different than a lot of the, I'll call them like the legacy or the original loyalty programs, because the way we've been thinking about it is not as a marketing program for the partners that join us. We call them the alliance partners. But for the alliance partners that join, we're trying to drive true engagement that will inspire people to travel more. So the way we're doing that, of course, you will earn points with Journey when you stay at properties. You can earn more points depending on, we're letting our alliance partners create quote unquote campaigns. So if they want off-season stays or longer stays, they might incentivize you with more points or higher multiples on points. So that's kind of the obvious way that all the loyalty programs do it. But the other way is inside of our product, we're driving ways for the consumers to engage with us. So it could be simply kind of building a local guide. It could be reviewing a property. It could be simply bookmarking and saving properties. And you can kind of create those micro engagements. But those micro engagements are actually really valuable because those are the beginning of the journey. No pun intended. But like the way consumers decide is they get inspired, whether it be on social platforms where they see properties they love, then they start kind of looking deeper into the story and the city and like, is that where they want to go next, and kind of planning that trip. And so we kind of mapped out the customer journey and said, okay, how could we think through, ways to, use our currency being the Journey points to have at least a deeper understanding and hopefully some influence over the decision the consumer is going to make. And we believe that we'll underwrite that with our balance sheet because we believe that will drive the effect we need, which is kind of more people staying at kind of authentic experiences within our program. So that, it's to be defined, all of the different ways we'll allow, but we will allow kind of micro conversions and other ways to earn points.
Which, I think when we saw the announcement on a couple weeks ago and we were talking about on the show, it was like, oh, actually, that'd be kind of nice to use some points on a spa appointment or a restaurant, occasion or whatever that may be. So I like that. I want to ask in the question of the actual Journey product before we actually went live. You're kind of talking about the technology that needs to be built behind the scenes, but how are consumers actually earning the points? Is it a credit card? Is it just a loyalty member number that follows them around to the alliance members? Would love to know how this kind of actually is accrued.
Yeah. So technically, this is maybe the interesting part. I think I looked at a lot of the programs that have been tried and succeeded or failed. And I am definitely more of a technologist at heart than I am a marketer. So I could talk pretty deep into the technology idea, but I'll give you kind of the short and sweet of it. We are not an OTA, right? So you don't have to book your travel through us. In fact, we want you to book it through the direct websites with the alliance partners. We believe they've spent a lot of time curating that experience and making it great. And so part of the unsexy technology we're building is the integrations into all the CRSs and PMSs. So Journey will have a view into all the guest reservations, no matter where you book, of the alliance partners. The way that you will match to that is obviously once, the first time you see Journey probably will be when you stay at a property. Obviously, we'll be doing marketing on our own to sign up new members. But let's say you stay at the Nihi Resort in Indonesia, you'll get a message from us on checkout saying, great, Nihi's a member of the Journey Alliance. You just earned 12,000 points for your stay. Click here to claim your points. That is kind of your first interaction with us. Once you create an account with Journey, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. So we let you verify different pieces of contact information, your phone number, your email, and we're going to kind of constantly be watching for new reservations that come into the system that match on those contact information. Obviously, yes, you can also link a specific stay to your member number. But our hope is people forget. So how do we make it as easy as possible? And we think, despite some of the OTAs masking contact information and everything else, if we're successful at driving more direct bookings, we can just make it as simple as possible by just matching on kind of your verified contact info.
It's giving me a headache just thinking about the technical integrations with all the PMSs, how difficult that is inherently. So
I wish there were, that's one where I wish there was some consolidation. I know some private equity guys, maybe I could incentivize them to do that. But outside of Sabre, there's, a huge long tail of PMSs out there.
Especially in the short-term rental space.
Yeah.
Yes. Hotel too, though. You'd be surprised. But
On the operator side, I think some short-term rental companies are perhaps a bit skeptical of loyalty programs. And then on the hotel side, we were talking before we came on that some hotel brands are a little hesitant to have a loyalty program. How are you going about building, your operators and your offerings on the platform?
So out of the gates, I had just fundamentally a different point of view on loyalty. I think there's always different ideal customer profiles, right? Like who is the target audience for a property? And we decided that we were going to focus on the people who actually travel more often, right? So call it the mass affluent who have more kind of dispensable income, who travel more often, and that our points were more of a way to kind of build to rewards that help you get over the hump on the decision you're making, and also can earn additional perks and things. So I think I give you that context because there is a bit of a point, do points cheapen my brand, or are points for kind of cheaper products or less good products? I think Brian Chesky had a statement that Airbnb would never have a loyalty program. I think maybe he's backing off of that, but he said, because if you have a great product, you don't need a loyalty program. But I don't think that's true, right? Like psychologically, and I tell our team this all the time, like points and rewards are a psychological mechanism, not an economical one, right? Like, of course you want them to have great economic value, but it's like, do you guys use Duolingo at all? And so like, I'm trying to learn Portuguese because my fiance is training down in Brazil, and it's like, they're keeping me on a streak, right? So that's a psychological trigger to kind of get me to come back into the product, and it's good for them. It's good for me, right? And it's good for me because I learn better, and they know that. It's good for them because I use the product more often. And so, we're trying to think through ways like that and telling the hoteliers what we're trying to drive is more engagement with you, right? Like it's not about earning currency. It's not about cash back. Yeah, you're probably right. Like the affluent guest who's spending 10 grand to stay at Nihi maybe doesn't care that you give them $30 back, right? Like, but they might like that they get that personalized cocktail. They might like that you kind of gave them an embroidered blanket when they left. They might like some of these things, and we can help use loyalty as a way to better understand the guest and get them to engage with you. And so I think we have some work to do to prove that out when we go live this spring. But I really do believe that I want us to be a core part of the business strategy for the Alliance members, not a marketing program. And I think that is a pretty big differentiator between some of these other membership products that are out there, even for hotels, where I think they're great. They have some community elements, but they're not really a core part of the business strategy. And like we're hopeful that we can change that, at least for our Alliance partners.
For sure. I had one follow-up question in the terms of the technology and the way you guys are getting this information. Obviously, you're like tracking the phone number or the email or whatever through all the PMS integrations. I'm curious, like, what the overall solution will look like long term, because, like we said, there are so many property management softwares out there on hotels and short-term rentals. The one that I think of Muse, they have a guest profile, like kind of like CRM built into their property management software. So if you stay at any hotel or short-term rental operator that's using Muse, your profile travels with you. Are you guys thinking of a solution in that type of regard, or like how are you going to try to basically bring all this data and all this information in together?
I mean, we're hopeful that we can be a great partner to the great PMSs. We're not looking to replace it. And so, some of the newer age ones, I think a lot about this. Do you guys know Cumberland Farms? It's like a grocery store chain. But they, I think about like, how do we make our loyalty platform work at the endpoint? That means you're part of the strategy. You're not an add-on. And I've seen too many loyalty programs where it's like, yeah, it exists, but it doesn't really come up ever, right? Other than like, after your stay is over. And so what we're trying to figure out is like, with the right PMS systems, can we surface more guest insights? Like, could we give Muse guest profile even more data about the consumer? If we know what they're liking, what they're interacting with, which influencers they're following in our platform, kind of past stays, we have access to food and beverage and other information outside of the Muse PMS. Right. So theoretically, like, sure, we can chain together the stays within obviously the Journey Alliance, but we can chain that data together in a way that's kind of privacy conscious, but adding value to the guest, adding value to the hotelier, and how we surface that to the front desk or to the operations team. Like, I think that that is probably actually the biggest challenge, because it's not just a technical one, it's a training one and an operational one. And so, we're working with like James McBride, who is the CEO of Nihi, but he was like the GM of Ritz-Carlton, GM of the Carlisle before that. Like, he's teaching me a lot about so many moving pieces in these at scale hotels and operations. Like, to really break through, you need to figure out like how to build that connection, not just with the GM, but like with the head of housekeeping, with, the front desk management team. And so, that will have a lot of work to do. That's not even technical. The technical one, almost everybody has APIs these days. So it's really just a matter of convincing them that like that they should let us bidirectionally integrate with them in a way that will be good for kind of their customers. But the Muse of the world are the best partners, because I think they see the world similarly. Some of the older school ones are just tougher to kind of get them on board. But my hope is we get pulled that way, because their customer is the hotel. So if the hotel wants Journey, then they can pull us into the PMS. And it takes us about 2 weeks to build a new PMS integration. So it costs us money, but our hope is like, once an alliance member joins on, if they have one we don't have, we'll have to build it. And we're kind of building that asset base over time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that view that, and when done right, loyalty actually like changes the guest experience versus, I'm just here to burn points and get a free stay at, Marriott or Hilton or Hyatt or whatever. And in short-term rentals, it's really hard to do, but the smaller the host, the easier it is. And we've chatted about that before in previous episodes, where a single host, like when they're renting out my house that's down the street, I can do a little research on them, get them a bottle of wine, their favorite flowers, they're bringing a dog, I get a little dog treat, right? You can actually customize and personalize. At scale in short-term rentals, it's a little bit harder. And in the premium hotel category, they are typically very good at it. But to your point, I love the welcome cocktail or the take-home blanket. And people love to feel like they're getting something that other people aren't getting, or something that's personalized. And that experience drives true loyalty versus just a financial reward loyalty side.
Yeah. And I think that one of the important things is, now with these loyalty programs, Marriott, for example, you're within their ecosystem, but when you're bringing together a safari, short-term rentals, hotels, people, you're, talking about the customers that want to experience all these things. And I think it will really resonate with people and get people's attention that they now have a platform where they can earn and burn on all of these different things. And they don't have to just, earn their Marriott points and spend them at Marriott. They can now earn their hotel points and then spend them on a safari with the family. And I think that that's something that we haven't seen before. So it'll be really great to kind of see this. And I think that a lot of people will be really excited about it.
Yeah. And listen, I think we certainly have a lot of work to do to ever compete with the scale of properties of the Marriotts or the Hiltons. But, we're growing pretty fast. Luckily, we have today, just over almost 20 hotels. We have about 300 short-term rentals. Our goal is by launch, we'll have closer to 2,000 short-term rentals and maybe 100 to 200 hotels. But listen, I'm sure there'll still be business travelers who want to stay near the convention center, and we may not have kind of the perfect fit for that. But over time, our goal is to kind of add that geographic diversity. But I think the thing you hit on, Michael, which is, my belief, and I'm bringing it back to the beginning, is sometimes lack of scale is a better product, right? Like, it is very difficult to scale the personal touches, no matter what business. We had Nigel Morris was one of our board members. He was the founder of Capital One, and when at Red Ventures. And I remember in 2011 when he first joined, he said, "Geez, Red Ventures has this like culture of speed and lack of process and really flatness." And he's like, "But just realize you're in a fight against basically process, right, that is going to win out, and culture will start to fade, and some of those personal elements, Rick, you can't interview a CEO, you can't meet every single person, you won't know every person's name, like that will change." And so I think what's interesting about the consortium approach of the alliance partners is a lot of our short-term rental members who are joining on have 3, 5, 10 properties or a micro resort or something, and they still have that personal element. And sure, of course, they have aspirations to scale, but at least right now, like we can bring that experience, we can give them some of the technology that the big chains have, like without them necessarily having to get to thousands of properties to deliver on that. So hopefully that becomes a benefit too, just that authentic experience and personal touch.
I love that. I'm a fan of that. I'm curious, in your guys's, or overall, just from your perspective, kind of the loyalty landscape today, right? Like when we saw the announcement of Journey, we were talking about, Expedia One Key and all these other programs. Obviously, Marriott hit the, record of like the most loyalty members on their Bonvoy program. So kind of give me your overall perspective on the landscape of loyalty, because I know for a lot of short-term rental operators that are listening, it's a lot harder. Short-term rentals aren't usually the full, like outside of maybe the one vacation every year that they try to go to as a family or the traditional vacation. Not a lot of repeat guests happen compared to a Marriott or a Hilton or any other sub brand. So we'd love to know your overall just aspect of loyalty in general.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I interviewed some franchise owners in the big chains, the Hiltons and Marriott chains. I won't kind of say which ones, but they have their own challenges, right? There's kind of an odd conflict between Marriott, the corporate company that owns the loyalty program, and the franchisee who funds it, meaning oftentimes you stay at the Courtyard by Marriott near the convention center, you earn all your points there. That franchise pays for those points, right? So when you stay there and you earn those points, they pay a % of your stay to fund it, but you may not return and use your points there, right? And so I think what they buy into is the same thing, similarly that we're asking the alliance partners, which is it's about the fact that Michael might not come back and stay, but that loyalty program is, will earn somewhere else and he will come stay at your property. And kind of you have to believe that we can drive that influence through the program. I will say the difference, there's OTA loyalty programs. I'm not a big believer that those have a ton of traction for two reasons. One is they're in direct conflict with the supply side. It's very difficult to architect a program where the supply side that you're taking 20% of revenue from wants to tell their guests that they should use this loyalty program. But they're the people that really have the relationship. You know what I mean? You're just the booking platform, which is why we didn't build our booking platform to start. I think the second one is there are some kind of cashback secondary, I'll call them like discount OTA programs that kind of mask themselves as loyalty. But they're about loyalty to that platform, not loyalty to the product, the supply side. And so I think, the Marriotts of the world, really they're about loyalty to the ecosystem. So that's the similarity to what we're trying to accomplish is, with Journey, try to create loyalty to the alliance partners and hopefully a lens towards curation. Marriott does it through acquiring these brands, but for us, it's our internal curation team of, what kind of properties do we think our consumers are going to love? We are launching kind of a consumer nominated property product to like let consumers come to our site and tell us like, I'd love this property to be in the alliance. But that, I think that also matters. The Marriott, homes and villas is not super curated. You just got to hit, if you have 20 properties, then you can add your homes and villas to Marriott, right? Which is great. You can earn points finally, but it's not exactly curation of a category that probably needs curation. And so, I think that's the other kind of slight angle to our product, which I think Plum Guide has done a great job, but like is create a way where we're curating who we let in so that we take one less thing out of the consumer's kind of thought process where they just know like, okay, if it's in Journey, it's going to be a great experience and a good product. And we care less about scale and more about kind of that experience.
Yeah, I love that you're really pushing for the direct bookings as an operator. Love that. And then in terms of adding inventory, if you're a boutique hotel or a short-term rental operator, how are you getting your product on Journey in the near future?
So right now we have basically, there's two paths. We do have an online application. The Alliance members can go to the site. I'm not trying to pitch Join Journey, but you can go to joinjourney.com and at least apply to join. We're trying to create it as easy as possible. We know operators are super busy. So right now you can literally just put in the URL. We'll do some magic on the back end using some AI tools to kind of get our understanding of your business and product and tell you if you're a fit or not. to not waste your time or ours. And then kind of our application team internally takes it from there. So we try to detect your PMS and see, do we already have it built in or not? We try to detect some other stuff. We will launch domestically, so US and Canada in March. We'll launch globally probably in the fall. There's just some multi-currency and kind of cross-border stuff we have to figure out. And as a startup, you have to prioritize some things. But aside from that, really, it's open to anybody to apply. The way it works in terms of onboarding is after you go through that process, we have to get API credentials. We have to kind of, make sure that you understand the terms and conditions and they apply. And then, what we're working on January, February for Alliance members, it'll be kind of rolling after that is the training and the physical stuff. So we're kind of creating physical things for you that are personalized and customized to your brand and your property to have you provide to guests. And then we're working on kind of the communications. So, what's our recommendation for communications to guests so that they understand it, comprehend it, et cetera. But, we love design. So hopefully we're doing it in a bit of a design forward way too.
I think what Brandy was asking was, do you have stuff in Miami and New Orleans? I could be wrong.
I was, it was a general question just for people to know. But it would be thrilled.
So
I was gonna say our hotel in Kentucky would love to join as well, but we'll get there one day.
So John, at the end of every guest, we like to do a quick rapid fire. So keep answers short and sweet. You might have to think a little bit on some, but I'll lead the way, team. Favorite hotel in the world?
Favorite hotel in the world? This is going to be not the best answer, but it's a different reason. I really have fond memories of the Mayfair Hotel in London. It was the first trip my daughter ever took, and it was Christmas time. And so I just have great memories of it. And they treated us really, really well. And so I don't know if it's the best hotel in the world, but I just have really good memories of it.
Definitely an iconic one. Nice. What's your favorite hotel perk?
That counts.
My favorite hotel perk is definitely suite upgrades. I'm too frugal to want to pay for it, but I always enjoy seeing what they've done. That's not the thing they replicated 100 times, but the thing they did once. I just find really appealing.
Not too dissimilar to a short-term rental.
Yeah. Where are you going on vacation with the kids?
We are taking all of the family to João Pessoa in Brazil, which is a beach town. I'll give it. It's like a domestic beach vacation for Brazilians, but it's the easternmost tip of South America, and it's beautiful there. So the whole family's going there in January.
Nice.
That sounds awesome.
What hair product do you use?
Dang it! You took my question, Michael.
That's a long and you said short and sweet. Sumo, I'm a Bumble and Bumble Sumo Tech and salt spray guy. That's the key, and a blow dryer.
Yeah, I was gonna say Phil Kennard for me had the best hair in the industry, but I think you just took that new award and that new title, so I'm jealous. I was like, I need that hair product. I gotta step up my game. That was my question, so I have nothing else to say because Michael took it. So thanks a lot, Mike.
Off the hook easy, John. Off the hook easy.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you guys for having me. It was fun chatting.
Yeah, no, super incredible. I love the topic of loyalty in general. I think we've had multiple conversations on this show, right? The short-term rental sector struggles with loyalty. Hotels are really pushing into it. OTAs are pushing into it. So to see someone kind of bring the verticals together is really incredible. So I'm sure we'll have you guys back on the show in the near future as you continue to build and scale.
I hope so. And
sweet.
Fill out the application. Maybe we'll get you guys on board.
Awesome.
There we go. We'll do it. For all the yep. Sorry, I think we might have a lag, but for all the Good Morning Hospitality listeners, make sure you grab the links in the show notes. We are super excited about what Journey is doing. So obviously we want to give them all the support that we can. And of course, if you have questions, we'll make sure to also link John's LinkedIn. So that way you can reach out and connect. But outside of that, we'll see you all again next week.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.